So today I'm going to show you how to make the best chewy chocolate chip cookies. I'm not joking. These are the best. There's no contest. They're soft, they're puffy, they're chewy, they're easy. Let me show you how to make them. We're going to start off with some melted butter, and I love this because it makes it so easy. You don't have to bring the butter to room temperature. Just melt in the microwave, a couple 30-second intervals, you're good to go. Next, we're going to add our sugar. So we've got 3/4 of a cup of light packed brown sugar. Pour that right in. We've also got a 1/2 of a cup of granulated white sugar. Now, you definitely don't have to use a stand mixer for this recipe. I just do it because I'm lazy. You can definitely just do it in one big bowl with a spoon and a whisk. It's all you need, but it's really, really easy in the stand mixer. So I've got my melted butter, my brown sugar, my white sugar. I'm just gonna stir it on medium, beat it with my mixer until everything is combined. Okay, so everything is combined. I've got my butter, sugar, my brown, my white. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add my egg and my egg yolk. Now, a little interesting kind of weird thing that I like to do is when I'm baking and I don't want to wait a long time for my eggs to come to room temperature, I heat up some water in a measuring cup, a bowl, whatever, just microwave safe, and I put it in the microwave for like 30 seconds and wait until it's nice and warm. And then I just throw whatever eggs, I place them nicely into the cup, and then I just wait 15 or 20 minutes and they're done. There's nothing else that you need to do. It's really easy, and it makes the eggs come to room temperature really quickly, which I love. So now I'm just gonna add my egg and my egg yolk. And the reason why I like to bring my eggs to room temperature before I use them in baking recipes is because everything blends together a lot more nicely. Okay, so I've got my egg and my egg yolk. That's all ready to go. And you can save the egg white if you want to for something healthy, for an egg white omelet, or you can throw it away, whatever you want. So now, I'm just gonna add my eggs. Okay, that's done. So now we're gonna add the good stuff, the vanilla extract. I love vanilla extract. We're gonna add 2 teaspoons of this. Oh my God, it smells so good. And it's gonna give us a really nice homemade flavor. So make sure that you get the authentic, the real vanilla extract. Don't get the imitation stuff, it's not as good. Okay, so 2 teaspoons. Just give it one last mix. Okay, now I'm gonna clean up and grab the dry ingredients. Okay, so I cleaned up a little bit. Now I'm gonna start measuring my dry ingredients. So I've just got my all-purpose flour. We're gonna use 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour. So what I like to do when I'm measuring flour is I like to make sure that it's nice and light. It tends to get packed down in these packages, so you can lighten it with a knife, a spoon, whatever you want. So 2 1/4 cups. Okay, so now my flour is done. I'm gonna do a teaspoon of baking soda. And make sure when you're cooking, if you like to keep it clean, the countertop that you're working on, make sure that you put some saran wrap down. It makes it really easy because whenever you're done, you lift up the saran wrap, throw it away, and everything is really clean. So I love using that just because I make a huge mess and it's really embarrassing. So it really helps to do that. Okay, the next thing I'm gonna do is add my cornstarch. Now cornstarch is one of the secret ingredients that makes these cookies really nice and fluffy. Okay, so I'm just gonna add 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So I've got all my dry ingredients, I'm just gonna whisk them together. Okay, so the next thing I'm gonna do is just add my dry ingredients to my wet ingredients. Just add it in a couple batches, just so that it doesn't get overwhelmed with flour, and then flour just fills the whole room, gets all over you. It's just terrible. So just make sure that you put it in a couple batches and make sure that it's on low. So I'm just gonna put it on low. So we're gonna add the second batch. Okay, now we're gonna mix it on low one more time. And the thing about cookie dough is you wanna mix it as little as possible. You just wanna make sure that everything gets incorporated. So we're just gonna stir this whisk it, do whatever until the flour can no longer be seen. Okay, so it's gonna look like that, if you can see that. Now, because of the melted butter, it's gonna be really soft. So I'm gonna show you what to do, but first I need to get my chocolate chips. Okay, so I've got my chips. Now the only difference between Sally and I is that I'm using chocolate chips instead of chocolate chunks because it's what I have. And I'm also using more because chocolate, it makes everything taste better. You can mess up anything, add some chocolate to it, it'll be fine. So I'm adding half semi-sweet chocolate chips and half milk chocolate chips. I'm doing about half a cup or so of each. And it's gonna make them really chocolatey, really delicious. And then what I'm gonna do to make them really pretty, before I bake them, I'm gonna put a couple more chocolate chips on top of each cookie. So now I'm just gonna give it one last stir just to make sure that everything is incorporated. Okay, just a couple seconds, that's all it takes. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is scoop my cookies. So, got some gloves because it's pretty sticky. Just gonna get everything off the beater. Okay, get that out of there. So now what we're gonna do is just scoop our cookies. I've got a nice size ice cream scoop because when I make cookies, I wanna go all out. I don't want little baby cookies, I want drama. So when I make cookies, I like them to be big. So make these whatever size you want, but that's what size I'm gonna make these. Perfect. I had to sample the cookie dough, just to make sure it was okay. So the way that I scooped these, it made 12 big cookies. Now, on Sally's website, she lists that you can make 16, so it really just depends on how big that you make them. So now what I'm gonna do, because I can't resist, we're just gonna add 5 or 6 chocolate chips, just so that when they bake, you see all the chocolate chips on top, and it makes a really nice presentation. Okay, so that's all done. Now, for these cookies, since the cookie dough is really soft from that melted butter, we want these to firm up a little bit so that they don't spread out too much in the oven, because you want them to stay light and puffy but chewy. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to refrigerate these for at least 2 hours. I'm actually not gonna bake them until tomorrow, but at least 2 hours, and then they're gonna be ready to bake. I'm gonna show you what they look like after they bake, and they look delicious. So I'm just gonna put some saran wrap on these, and I'm gonna show you what they look like tomorrow. All right, so it's time to bake the cookies. I've lined them on a Silpat type sheet. Now, you can do this with a Silpat, you can do this with parchment paper, you can do it on aluminum foil, anything with a lined baking sheet you can do this with. So I've got my oven preheated to 325 degrees. We're gonna put these in there for 12 to 15 minutes. Just keep an eye on them near the end of cooking. You don't want them to get overbaked, but you wanna make sure that they're cooked all the way through. Look at this cookie. Look how good that looks. So I put it in the oven, 325, 12 to 15 minutes. Let it rest for 5 minutes and then move it to a cooling rack. And this is what you end up with. I mean, look at that. Can you see that? Look at that. The best chocolate chip cookies ever. This recipe is from Sally's Baking Addiction. I'm gonna put a link below. There's a really detailed article on how to make them. All credit goes to her. These are the best. You have to try them.